This past week, Deadpool and Wolverine joined the $1 billion club. It is only the second R-rated movie ever to reach that milestone. So today I'm going to stop and rank all 8 post-COVID $1 billion films from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of all 8 post-COVID $1 billion films. My list is not the right list. It's just my list, and I would love to see yours. As we go into this, one of the interesting things is that 2019, the year before COVID, had 9 $1 billion films in just that year, including Endgame, which made almost $3 billion. And in the 5 years since, we've only had 8 films enter the $1 billion club. Now, that in and of itself is an interesting topic that I could probably make a video about, but it's some combination of COVID, the streaming wars, and then just bad studio choices, kind of creating a perfect storm for shifts in viewing behavior of the general public, that you just don't have nearly as many movies making a ton of money. But we have got 8 of them, and let's get started. In last place, Jurassic World Dominion. Now, I don't hate this movie as much as a lot of people do. My wife had it on a few months back, and I watched the first half of it, and it was a lot more passably enjoyable than I remembered it being, where Chris Pratt is fun to watch as an adventurer. Sam Neill, it's great to see him on the screen again as Alan Grant. Same with Jeff Goldblum. There's a lot of things about it that are pleasant to watch, or action sequences that just have thrills to them. But this movie is a tremendous waste of all of its potential. Whether you're talking about finally doing Jurassic World, where dinosaurs are free amongst us, and the plot they choose to tell is about dinosaurs on a preserve at evil Apple headquarters. Like, what? That is not Jurassic World. That's not the promise of the premise at all. Likewise, we are bringing back Alan Grant, one of the great cinematic outdoorsy adventurers. What are we going to do with him? We're going to have him doing espionage indoors at evil Apple headquarters. Total waste of the character, and doing like this cutesy high school romance thing that it put a smile on my face. But when you don't give him the chance to really do what Alan Grant is great at, you feel like you're wasting the whole thing. And so a movie that should be about dinosaurs having dominion on our world, as they're everywhere now, and instead, it's about locusts, corporate espionage, and all of the wrong things. It's a big, slick movie with movie stars and characters that are fun enough on the screen, so it's watchable, but also such a tremendous waste of all of the potential. In particular, because the director did a short film, like Battle of Big Rock or something like that, a couple years before this movie came out, about some campers attacked by a dinosaur, and you go, yeah, that's the movie that you could have made right there. That's it. You have the concept right there. Normal people trying to live their lives in danger because dinosaurs are everywhere. It can be a smaller film, but it's about dinosaurs on the whole world. No. Dinosaur preserve over there, espionage, all that stuff. Number 7, Barbie. Now, this is a movie I would probably say I respect more so than I am a fan of it. And what I mean by that is that in an era where there's so many IP films out there, so many big franchises for these big, gigantic studios, where you have so many movies coming out that don't feel like they have any distinct voice to them, where the brand is the voice, and they feel directed by committee. You get Barbie, that is so overtly an IP film, obviously, but it's a movie that was allowed to have a distinct voice, a distinct style. To a fault, it's able to explore and communicate the ideas that it wants. There's no other movie out there like the Barbie movie. There's also no shortage of fantastic jokes in here. Ryan Gosling as Ken in particular. All of that said, I also found the movie to be just too on the nose with what it was trying to communicate. And some of it's done through humor, but especially when you move into the later section of the film where an entire plot point is resolved by a character monologuing to other characters. And it just pauses to have Greta Gerwig's message that she wants to state about being a woman in America in the 21st century. And she just has a character just say it as a monologue. And that to me, it's not communicating through storytelling. It's not even communicating through jokes. It's just preaching at the audience. And I don't like it when any movie does that. I also found it to be a movie that I think tried to do a little bit too much. There's too many ideas being tackled and all at the same time. And that's even why you have to start having moments where characters are just stating the message because it's trying to get too much out there at the same time. And that kind of bogged it down for me. But like, there's so much here that I really do respect. There is a lot here that I really did enjoy. I just wish that it was a little bit more focused and not so overtly on the nose preaching. Next up, Super Mario Brothers, Chris Pratt's second appearance on the list. And this is a solid Super Mario Brothers movie. It is straightforward to a fault, where they knew the most important thing was to get the vibe right, to create that Mario experience. And they just committed to doing that. And that's what this movie does so well. That you feel like you're running around in Mario Land, in Mario World, and Bowser's Kingdom, and all that stuff. You just feel like you are there. They're pulling from the different games, the different elements, and finding ways to put a smile on the face of anyone that has ever been a Nintendo fan over the last 40 years. There's something in there. And there's even deep cuts where they're referencing the 1980s Super Mario Brothers show.
We're the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game.
With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game.
To modern games. There's a great Mario Kart sequence. So many great little bits in here. It's very straightforward with its story. It's not trying to break any new ground. It's just trying to capture that Mario vibe, and it absolutely does that and makes you go, oh yeah, I hope they do more of these. Number 5, Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie that prompted me to make this video. And these multiverse movies, this one and No Way Home, a couple higher up on this list, are just very interesting films because they almost function on their own level, based on their own rules. And they're able to tap into something special and unique. They're films designed to just kind of tug on the nostalgia heartstrings. They're designed to make you feel like a kid again. Oh, that's also something true of the Super Mario Brothers movie. And they do that. They just make you excited like a child about seeing certain characters on the screen. They're designed to be celebrations of these franchises that have meant so much to us. Both of them have a way in which they're able to make you love characters and characterizations, adaptations that previously weren't even all that popular, but you just love to see them again. And that's kind of the magic of what this movie and No Way Home were able to do. Ryan Reynolds is a very funny guy. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He's able to bring kind of the gravitas to it, and he's so believable. He's in a very silly movie with insane things happening all around him, but like when he just sits there and goes, "You killed that guy," or just rips into Deadpool, he's able to make it really funny, but also believable and sincere in a way that Ryan Reynolds is not able to do. All of that said, like on a story level, it's all pretty forgettable. Even on the plot mechanics, it's like, oh, I just called the Deadpools to show up, and that's what our final fight in the movie is like. There's stuff like that you don't care anything about the villains' motivations or anything about the villains in the story. All of that is just a mechanism to be able to have a story that thematically works, that is good for the character arcs, it's good for the cameos and the fan service. Does the story in and of itself work? Is it interesting if you remove the multiverse skin off of it, if you remove the cameos and stuff, and just do this basic story? Is it compelling? Are these villain motivations compelling if you remove the fan service? No, they're not. And so they're interesting movies because this movie is so entertaining and so special in the one sense, but also like, it fails on the levels that I evaluate other movies in many senses. Number 4, Avatar: The Way of Water. James Cameron is one of my absolute favorite directors. I've said it many times that I am deeply depressed over the fact that James Cameron has been kidnapped and taken off to Pandora. At this moment in time, it has been over 25 years since James Cameron made a non-Avatar movie. And he's going to keep making Avatar movies until I am 50 years old and my son is 20 years old. And since I love James Cameron so much, I mourn all of that. With all that said, James Cameron knows how to make cinematic events. Like the Avatar movies aren't ones that I like rewatch at home all the time, but they're great, immersive cinematic experiences where he just creates these environments that he shoots them in a way that it's like you're watching an IMAX nature documentary about this planet that doesn't exist, and you're exploring it and you're learning about the tribes, and everything is just so big and sweeping. And even as we go into these action set pieces, he knows how to get you invested with this world while you're present in that theater. Like I said, they're odd ones because it's not like a lot of people are dressed up as Quaritch at Comic Cons or anything like that, or the Na'vi. It's like a franchise with a tremendous theatrical footprint. Every time these things come out, you have to see them and experience them. But their cultural footprint is just not anywhere in the same space as their theatrical footprint. That you just don't have the fandoms for Pandora that you have for all of these other franchises out there. It's very odd to me. It's a very strange phenomenon, but both of these movies absolutely killed it, and they're movies you just have to see in the theater. Real quick, before I give you my top 3, remember to join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of the billion-dollar post-COVID films. I also did a video where I ranked all 50 plus billion-dollar films. I don't know if it was last year, 2 years ago. Wasn't too long ago. But if you want to know my full thoughts on all the billion-dollar films, you can check that video out somewhere around here. In third place, Spider-Man: No Way Home. And as I discussed with Deadpool and Wolverine, this is a movie that is just such a fan event. It's such an experience for people that love Spider-Man and in particular love these Spider-Man movies, but they tap into something even kind of beyond that, to where they made you love Andrew Garfield and the Amazing Spider-Man movies more than those movies were ever loved when they actually came out. There was just something about what this film was able to do that just made us fall more and more in love with Spider-Man and these franchises. And at the same time, as I've said since before the movie came out, the basic setup for the film feels like episode 17 of season 2 of Spider-Man the TV show.
Stop tampering with the spell.
Oh my God, Ned, he's my best friend. Oh, my Aunt May should...
Spider-Man doesn't get into college, so he goes to his wizard friend and asks for help and casts the spell, and it goes wrong, and there's hijinks because of it. Like, it's a very episodic sort of setup. The motivation for it is, man, I didn't get into college. Life is hard right now. I wonder if my wizard will help me out. It's like so aw shucks. And this aw shucks setup is used to create this very special experience and event that, like, if you were there opening night, like, theaters are going wild, they're going crazy, we're cheering, and you wanted to go back again the next day to experience that again with other people in a movie that has a very goofy setup at the same time. And so, like I said about Deadpool and Wolverine, these are movies that you evaluate them almost on this different criteria. They're very successful experiences. if you evaluate them on the criteria of storytelling and earned drama, people behaving like real human beings, it doesn't hold up all that well. Doesn't matter, because it works on that emotional level. It makes you care about the characters. It gives you the feels, and it makes you feel like a kid again. Our runner-up, Inside Out 2. Now, the first Inside Out I thought was one of the Pixar classics. I was an education major in college, so I actually read a lot of books on cognitive development and Piaget, and then I worked with teenagers for a long time. And so when they put out this movie that was able to kind of capture cognitive development and communicate it in a way that children could understand and teenagers could understand, I just thought this was such a great premise that was entertaining, but it was insightful and useful. And to me, it felt like there's more stories to tell because you continue to grow up and your brain continues to shift really until you're about 25 years old. But really, it keeps shifting. Your brain keeps having neural pathways closed off and synapses or whatever all that stuff is. We keep evolving and changing until we die. So the movie came out, and I had a good feeling about it because I thought it was a good setup. The trailers weren't great, but I still had a good feeling because the first one was solid. And I thought they just did such a great job of continuing us through that journey of growing up and puberty and forming our own personal identity. But more importantly, as I have now a middle schooler, and a year from now I will have 2 middle schoolers, it was a movie that I felt like was just so useful and insightful in unpacking anxiety and taking all of the weird, strange, bad behaviors that all of us had had during middle school and unpacking where some of that comes from and making it clear that like there's anxiety isn't a bad thing, but it can turn into a bad thing and it can lead us to bad places, but it also can save us from things. And it was the sort of movie where like this movie helps you understand yourself better. And it helps you understand the people around you better. And if both of you studied this, especially having daughters, watch this movie and watch Mean Girls and like compact the two together and think through everything kind of going on and think through the old weird things that you've thought, the way that you've treated people, the way people have treated you. It's insightful. It's useful. And I love that about the movies, while being entertaining for all ages. My 5-year-old, who calls it Emotions 2, adores these movies. And my 10-year-old loves them, and I thought they were great too. But coming in at number 1, Top Gun Maverick. This isn't just my number 1 film for the $1 Billion COVID Club. This is my favorite movie of the entire post-COVID era.
10 out of 10, masterpiece.
Of the 20s in general. This is the movie that just absolutely nailed it. Knocked it out of the park, delivering a classic summer blockbuster. Delivering maybe the best legacy sequel of all time. In the case of this film, I would say that it is very obviously a better film than the original Top Gun. And I say that as someone that does not remember a time in my life when I was not watching the movie Top Gun. One of my earliest memories of watching a movie is watching Top Gun. I've seen it a zillion times, love that film. And without question, this is a better Top Gun film. That it manages to mature Maverick and take him and show his vulnerabilities, his faults, the ways that he hasn't been able to progress in his career. And at the same time, it takes your hero and goes, let's make him even more heroic. Let's make him more of a legend, put him on more of a pedestal. And it doesn't feel any need to tear him down or deconstruct him, but it does make him more human and vulnerable at the same time. And a willingness to take on burdens that other people shouldn't bear, in particular protecting Meg Ryan in a son's memory of his mother. He takes a burden on himself that was not really his burden to bear in a sense, because it was the right thing to do. And there's these little details that are just so poignant in a movie that also it's thrilling, it's funny, Just classic crowd pleaser. I saw it 4 times opening weekend, and I would have gone to go see it a 5th time if I could have convinced my kids to go see it. It's so good. It's so rewatchable. I travel a bit. Sometimes it's on in the hotels. I always stay and watch it. Sometimes at home, I just want to watch the end of Top Gun Maverick again. I throw it on. Just a fantastic blockbuster where they did it right. They honored the characters. They showed us something we'd never seen before in just these absolutely thrilling action set pieces.
Working with the Navy 15 months to figure out how to get the cameras in these things.
And for a lot of people, this is the movie where they were introduced to my close personal friend that I've only spoken to for 30 seconds, Glenn Powell. So for that reason, it comes in at number 1. I touched my microphone there. Be sure to share your ranking down below. Check out my ranking of all of the billion-dollar films right over there. Thank you so much for watching. Keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.